Communications problems normally have nothing to do with communication. Hi everyone, welcome out to another episode of the Mind Engineer community. Here, Tommy Walker, sharing insight and tools to help you in this leadership journey of becoming more conscious of what's going on and how to be able to lead our life in a better way. So today I want to talk about communication because I've been talking lately to a lot of people, whether it is in their business, in their jobs, with their bosses, with their team, and mainly in relationships, is that they're having supposedly communication problems. And the thing is, I want to share is that if we think about this, the truth is we mostly know the basics about communications, right? We just share what we want to share. So why is it that lots of people have problems, with relationships, friends, family, partners, and normally they think that is a communication problem. And I want to share that the communication problem that they're seeing is normally the symptom of something deeper. It has nothing to do with communication itself because we communicate every single day with people all around us. You go buy something, you communicate, you want to buy something, you want to ask for directions. So basic communications, all of us have, and we know how to handle ourselves around that. So what is the real problem? The real problem, guys, is first, yes, there are communication skills to learn to have difficult conversations. But the most important thing to understand is that we find it difficult to express our needs and wants because when we were kids, each time we did that, many times they were shut off. They were rejected. They were denied. We were told things that were hurtful. So the thing with communication problems, as the symptom being communication problems, the deeper root cause has to do with feeling rejected. This is one of the main things that most people struggle with in communications. They are scared of being judged, criticized, or even rejected. So they tend to keep within what they want to say to somebody, right? Imagine that somebody is doing something that I don't like. Instead of me telling them that I don't like that because I don't want to go through the uncomfortable situation of communicating that and that person rejecting me, judging me, criticizing me, or something like that, what I tend to do is to avoid that conversation because at the end, I don't want to be judged, criticized, or rejected. So what this means is I can learn as many tactics as I want in communications, but if I don't work on that hurting parts of me that have been judged, criticized, or rejected growing up, unfortunately, it's not gonna work to learn tactics to be able to apply to have better communications. So when we are keeping in stuff that is bothering us, what we're doing is a disservice to ourselves and a disservice to the other person. Because if you love somebody and you're doing something that bothers them, wouldn't you like to know it? And now that we're calm here, you would say like, yeah, Tommy, of course I want to know that. But then when your partner tells you that something is bothering you and it might play into your identity, that's when people tend to lose it. That's when people get defensive because now they feel rejected. So instead of just saying, oh, so the way that I speak bothers you, the level of my tone or something like that, instead of just working on that, I might get defensive or I might shut down. So is the communication the problem? Normally it's not. Is the feelings behind what's going on within you in that communication, whether you are avoiding it or whether you're getting defensive if somebody sharing something that bothers you, or if somebody's sharing something that bothers them, right? So what I would really recommend, guys, is we keep working on connecting with our own emotions. Because if I'm having a discussion with my wife and I get triggered, that is giving me the opportunity to see where could I have been rejected in the past that is still hurting, that needs to be dealt. So it's trauma that has been stored in the body, in my mind, that needs to be dealt. It's not punishment. Like the other day I was talking to somebody and this person was telling me, but Tommy, so then the things that are happening to us, if we believe in God, is more like a opportunity, is more like a consequence to learn something more than a punishment from God. And yes, that's the truth. If I'm a dad and I'm going to try not to punish my kids. I want to try to teach them through consequences, right? I'm not saying it's easy, of course, right? Why would God universe, higher self do that to us, punish us, right? So then again, when something is going on that we are avoiding a conversation, or we get defensive when somebody brings up something that bothers us, instead of pointing fingers out, instead of, attacking or fighting or getting fight, flight, or freeze, instead of those three, is start trying to connect with your body, with your mind. How am I feeling with what this person is saying? How am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And how does this make me feel about myself? The other day I'm offering a course to a company that hired me about conscious leadership. And I was talking about Buddha, Jesus, and I made a comment. And next day, a woman writes to me and says that it really bothered her that I was comparing Buddha with Jesus. She comes from Jehovah's Witnesses, and for her, Jesus is Jehovah is the only savior, and there's nobody else out there. So I told her, okay, I'm sorry if what I said bothered you. First, I addressed it. I said I was sorry if what I said bothered you. I didn't say, hey, I'm sorry for bothering you. No, I didn't bother her. It was what I said that bothered her. So I said, I'm sorry that what I said bothered you. I wasn't trying to disrespect you or anything. I was just sharing my point of view, but I respect if you believe something different. What I would like to share with you, what I would like to recommend to you is, now that you're doing the conscious leadership course, is to check what is going on within you with what I said. So ask those questions to yourself that I'm teaching them. So how do I feel? Why do I feel this? And how does this make me feel about myself that it bothered me what Tommy said, right? So instead of blaming Tommy and asking Tommy not to talk about Buddha anytime again, because that's just avoiding my own emotions and, unresolved issues, the idea is to be able to communicate. So, okay, something is bothering me here. So it has to do with me, or I'm avoiding this because I don't want to be rejected. So instead of blaming the other person, because what happens most of the times, and I know all of you have experienced this because I've experienced this and I still experience sometimes, is that we start storing, we start putting away what bothers us, till eventually a fight starts with our partners or with a friend, and then we speak our truth, but in a very destructive way, in a very demeaning way or defensive way. And instead of building the relationship, it destroys it. Haven't that happened to you in the past, where you end up saying what you wanted to say, but it comes out in such a negative way that instead of building a relationship, a connection with the other person, it just destroys that? And I lost many friendships because I used to, in a way, avoid with my family, with my friends, and a lot of people, and even my partner. And then it would build up so much that then when I came out, boom, it was so hard that the other person just pulled away. And I lost relationship and people around me because of that. So what I want to share with you guys, that when you think that you have a communication problem, no, it's not a communication problem. You have maybe not being able, you haven't been able to deal with your own emotions and understand the narratives that you're telling yourself behind those emotions. So imagine that I'm avoiding talking to somebody. How do I feel? At the beginning, you might find it difficult. You gotta connect with, maybe I'm scared. I'm scared of the other person not liking what I have to say. I'm scared that the other person might, attack, say something that I don't like, or the person might not like me anymore because now I'm telling them something, right? So that is what's going on within me. So how do I feel? I feel scared of this person not liking me. Okay, it makes total sense. Why would I feel this? And start going deeper. How would that make me feel about myself if the other person doesn't like me? And I'm going to give you an example of the narrative. The narrative could be that I'm not good enough, that I'm not lovable, that I'm not worthy. So that is the narrative that you're already telling yourself. And now you're pointing fingers out to blame the other person when actually you already think that about yourself. You think that about yourself. So the communication is actually the communication with yourself, becoming, honest and say, okay, I'm scared of having this conversation. Or when this person is saying this to me, I'm scared because it makes me think that I'm a bad person. I'm scared because, it might make me think, or it might reveal that I'm not good enough. I'm inadequate. I'm self-centered, or whatever it is that you're telling yourself. So the communication starts with us, guys, and recognizing the different emotions that are behind the avoiding conversations or becoming defensive in conversations. So when we start understanding better how the mind works, we can now start working on disabling the mechanisms that we have through experiencing the emotions that we're going through. Most people, and I see it all day, every day, it's amazing, right? And people that I talk to, people that I work with, I was working with a guy today and I was asking him, how do you feel around this? And he jumped into explaining very intellectually how he was feeling without naming any emotion. No emotion. He started saying, oh, but tell me, how am I going to feel if this person does this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and blah, 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 blah? Of course, it's going to bother me. Okay, how do you feel? And it took several attempts to try to help him connect with emotions because he was using intellect to try not to connect with the pain that he was feeling. Because remember, when we start talking about emotions, negative emotions trigger the same centers in the mind that get triggered through physical pain. Similar centers get triggered when we feel physical pain. So going into the emotional world creates quote unquote physical pain. So the mind is going to move away. So what happens a lot with the people that I work with as we're doing these one-on-ones is when I ask them how they're feeling, they give me a great explanation of why they're feeling how they're feeling without telling me how they're feeling. Because actually what they're doing is they're doing a cognitive bypass. They're overcoming, connecting with their emotions by explaining it very well why they're feeling like they're feeling without saying it. Because most of the times, the other day I was working with a woman and she's like, oh, Tommy, but I'm such a calm person. I don't get angry. I'm very nice with people, but I don't like when people get angry. I asked her, okay, why don't you like when people get angry? And she said, oh, no, but you know what, Tommy, I don't care if people get angry. But I would like to say things in a different sentence later on. She said, but I would like to learn how to say things so people don't get angry. So I said, wait, a couple of minutes ago, you said that it doesn't bother you if somebody gets angry, but now you're telling me that you're trying to control, to say things in ways that people don't get angry. So does that make sense? You're saying that you don't mind if people get angry, but you're saying that you don't want people to get angry? And her eyes opened up big and she was like, ah. So she was trying to convince herself that she didn't care if people got angry when actually she did care, but she didn't want to accept it. And listen why, it was amazing. So I went deeper, asking more and more questions. And I asked her, when you were a little girl, what happened at home? Was somebody getting angry pretty often? If you got angry, you were suppressed. What happened at home? And she's like, oh, when I was a little girl, my mom would get really angry at my dad. And that was really painful. And I still remember many times crying because I was seeing my mom treating my dad really badly and was very angry at him. Okay, so would you like to be like your mom, that angry person? And she's like, no, 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 I cannot be like that. So I asked her, could it be that you're telling yourself that you are not an angry person, but you're actually disconnecting with the parts of you that would like to express some anger? And she's like, whoa, I never thought about that, Tommy. So she wasn't allowing herself to feel angry because she didn't want to experience the pain she experienced as a little girl when she saw somebody else being very angry at dad and creating a very uncomfortable situation at home. So she had convinced herself not to feel angry. And her way was, oh, I'm a very calm person. I don't get angry. I'm a very calm person. I don't get angry. That was her way of saying, I don't want to connect with my pain. But she didn't want to accept it. So we started opening some doors so that she could go deeper to really start connecting with the parts of her that were not being allowed to feel angry. Because I asked her, hey, if I'm angry and I hit the bed beside me, or I scream and I don't hurt anybody and I don't hurt myself, would that not be okay? And she's like, yeah, that would be okay. So are you allowing yourself to do that? And she's like, no, I'm not angry. I don't feel anger. So I told her, maybe you're disconnecting from the anger within you. I told her, I don't know, just take that with you to check. So again, she thought that she had a communication issue, but the truth is she had a control issue, that she was trying to control people not getting angry because deeper down, she didn't want to deal with her own anger. She didn't want to deal with the pain related to the anger that she had experienced outside growing up. So all of that made her start believing that she was a calm person, that she didn't get angry, and that she didn't want others to get angry either. Look how the mind works, guys. It's amazing because the mind is not going to say, you know what, Tommy, I'm so scared of getting angry that I'm going to repress my anger. No, the mind is going to say, oh, I'm such a calm person. I don't get angry. But the truth is, maybe you do, but you're not allowing yourself. But that doesn't mean hurting others. It's being able to express the anger in a different way. So when we start understanding how the mind works, it makes it easier to understand our mechanisms, to see our blind spots, like this woman, that she was repressing her anger, right? To be able to really embrace what was going on. And that was the idea with the work, to be able to really embrace what was going on within her. So she didn't have a communication problem. She had an anger management problem because she had a lot of pain stored inside of her. So again, we need to really go deeper, guys, to understand what's going on deep, what are the narratives we're going through, and what is the unresolved issues from our past that the mind needs to go through to release the pain that has been stored in the body, to release it for good. Because if not, we keep storing within and it doesn't get dealt with. So that's the idea with this work, to keep going deeper, to keep developing the conscious leadership mindset, to become more conscious, to lead ourselves first, and then if we want to lead others. But if we don't start leading ourselves better, it's going to be very difficult to create a positive impact and influence people in a positive way around us, because most of the times we're trying to manipulate, we're trying to control others because we don't want to feel pain, and we try to avoid others feeling pain too. But what if going through the pain is part of this journey to be able to finally release it for good? Who wouldn't like that? Raise your hand if you wouldn't like that, right? To get rid of the pain within us once and for all, right? So we are able to stop carrying it around us, guys. And that's the idea with this work. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you've tried this, if you ever heard this before, and if you want to go deeper, just write the word free and we'll share more trainings, free trainings to help you start understanding more how the mind works and how to start making changes in your life and impact the life of others around you. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.